Hello and welcome to a special episode of An Echo of Glory. It's our transfer window review show. We recorded this morning. We weren't sure we were going to do one, but we're back. And Gary Diamond's back after saying he wasn't going to be on again for a few weeks. I feel like when Kane said when he didn't play against Man City, we thought we'd never see him again. Then he popped up and played again. I feel like that.
Yeah, but we didn't know that we were going to do this evening.
Yeah.
And then you called and I answered.
All right, Xavi Simons.
I did hear he was transferring to the... It's a late pull-out of a deal to the Fighting Cock, is what I heard.
And James Robbins, Leicester spotted recently.
I know.
You did a live for us on Friday night.
Did,
Thank
yeah.
you for that.
It was a bit ropey one, I do apologise, but it was good. It was good to get a chat out there about Simons as quickly as we could, and nice to be back on properly.
Okay, I still don't know if it's Simons or Simons, but we're going to talk to top Serie A commentator Adam Summerton. I was going to say Adam Nathan. He's not a top Serie A commentator. We're going to talk to caterer supremo Adam Summerton on Xavi Simons later on. But the window's shut. I mean, there's still these deal sheets going through. But I think Spurs are done. Slight late bad rumour that I'd heard that we'd put in a deal sheet for Lookman. That is not true. But we did sign one player today, Randal Kolo Muani from PSG on loan. We will talk about that in depth. Let's just go through some overall stats really from the transfer window in the Premier League. I've spent all month or last 6-7 weeks collating stuff for work, including today. This is excluding Isak because it will go through, but it hasn't yet. In total, just over £2.8 billion has been spent, which is a Premier League record. Last summer window, 1.9 billion. This is the biggest since 2.4 billion in 2023. As for Spurs, 172 million. I have included Danso and Tell on there. Some people will tell me I shouldn't have. Certainly Danso, that maybe the money was spent in January, but I put it on there and recouped around about 38 million. We could still sell Bryan Gil. The Spanish transfer window shuts in a couple of hours, 10:59. Do you remember when Barcelona once played at 12:01, or it might have been 11:59? They didn't want to play on a certain day, so they kicked off. They just fight with La Liga the whole time. But still got a little while to sell him. Maybe was it Girona? You said?
Yeah. And Basuma, I think, will end up in Turkey. Their window and their window's open for another couple of weeks, really.
Yeah. So still possibilities.
Like Sanchez, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still possibilities for some outs. But in terms of the official ins, Mohamed Kudus, West Ham, 55 mil. Xavi Simons, Leipzig, 51.8. Matisse Tell from Bayern, 30 mil. Kevin Danso from Lens, 21 mil. Luka Vuskovic, confirmed that one this summer, 9.4 from Hajduk Split. Kota Takai from Kawasaki Frontale for 5 mil and a couple of loans. João Palhinha from Bayern and Randal Kolo Muani from PSG. James Robbins, rate the window out of 10 before we go deep into it. Give me a number.
I was just looking at the chat actually and agree with Lordy. I said to some mates, I was like, who were asking the same thing. I said 7. Because I think you got to think about it. Is the squad better than it was at the start of the window?
Yep.
And it absolutely is.
Yep. All right.
Injuries permitting, but yeah, I think it absolutely is. We've got some 2 stars, you can argue, I think, in Simons and Kudus. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased.
Gary, I think the number you gave it earlier was 7, was it?
It was 7. I think before Kolo Muani, I'd actually say it's an 8 for me. I think it's lacking a centre back or left back. But when you look at, I think what tips it to an 8 is, as you say, the stature of the stature of all 4 players that come straight into the first team, really. And I know there's been a lot of moaning and whinging around we didn't get this one, we didn't get that one, Morgan Gibbs-White fell through, Eze didn't happen, and all of this. But when you're going out and signing Xavi Simons, who is one of the hottest young prospects in Europe, when you're going and getting Randal Kolo Muani, who, it might have been a bit opportunistic because it didn't go through at Juventus. Juventus, for financial reasons, couldn't afford him without contravening UEFA's financial stipulations, and so it fell through. However it's happened, the reality is you've got players of this stature coming to the club, the likes of Palhinha, who was coveted and wanted for a long time by Bayern over the course of 2 windows as being one of the best sixes in the Premier League. And I'd say even Mohamed Kudus, who is one of the outstanding wingers,
top player
in the Premier League. So, this window feels like people have said, act like a big club, act like a big club. And I think people sort of associate that with going out and buying early in the window. It doesn't quite work like that.
I think there's still a food chain, Gaz. You're still always going to be waiting, unfortunately, for Chelsea and these lot to do their business. There's so many things
that happen. I mean, when you look at the likes of Isak to Liverpool, as I mentioned earlier today, you might get Liverpool fans saying, why don't we just pay the 130 million on day one of the transfer? But it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, look, they've seen it tonight with Gahey falling through.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving parts all the time.
Exactly. And if anybody's been in a property chain, which is much less complex than this, right, you'll understand that these things take time and things have to fall into place. So when it comes to acting like a big club, I think it's the stature of the players that you sign that walk straight into the first team and improve that first team that determine, are you acting like a big club? And I'd say this summer, for one of the first times, we are.
I think there's one signing that's really different from what we normally get to experience as Spurs fans. I'd say Kudus is, we've signed 50 million players that have done it in the Premier League for the last few years. Solanke, Richarlison, Maddison for 40 mil, Johnson, that's not. And that's like what we do. And then Palhinha and Muani are kind of these stopgap loans. Ultimately, we might sign Palhinha. Muani is a straight up.
Yeah, but also on those, I know what you're going to say about Simons. I won't take your thunder, but on Muani and Palhinha, signing from Bayern and PSG, don't do that often. Certainly signing from the Champions League winners,
but they are surplus to requirements at those clubs.
Yeah,
and Palhinha is not 100% what we need. I think, as we saw at the Bournemouth, although he is an absolute fantastic player at what he's good at. And Kolo Muani is not that left winger we've wanted in Savinho, and he's not really a striker what we need. Maybe it's to do with Solanke's situation. But when can you call out, and I said it in the stream in the week, Xavi Simons is a 22-year-old who's played thousands of minutes at the top level. He's one of the top talents in world football.
Yeah.
And we've got him over teams that would like Chelsea or Liverpool with Wirtz, for example.
I think some people would say we only got him because Chelsea didn't pull the trigger.
I think you can argue that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we were linked with him at the start of the window, and I'm convinced that he was a top option for us around behind Gibbs White maybe, but
he's different to Gibbs White.
He is, but it looked like he was going to Chelsea the whole time. But we obviously got wind that was not happening, and we took the opportunity. And he's a clever player, Simons. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked to leave in 2-3 years. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. We bought Ericsson, who was always pipped to go beyond us. We bought Dele Alli, even pipped to maybe go beyond us. You buy these players that might to drag you there, and then maybe you get there and they stay. And we haven't done that for a bit. Probably not since Ndombele and Lo Celso. I'd say the closest signing I'd put this to is the Ndombele signing.
No, this is better.
It is, but I mean, like,
not even in hindsight.
I don't. Yeah, forget what happened with him. But at the time, it was best midfield talent in Europe that age.
I think Smith has achieved a lot more than
absolutely.
At the point that we signed him.
It's bigger.
He's a much bigger
I think when we signed Ndombele, it was he'd roasted Man City at the Etihad once, and we all loved it.
Not really many people were that aware.
Yeah,
we tried for 2 years, and he was linked with everyone, and we needed that Moussa Dembele replacement. And this, I still stand by. Ndombele could do things with the football that I've not seen anyone else able to do.
But I've talked about it.
His head wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Simons seems to have his head screwed on for where he wants to go. So I have no doubt that he'll work really hard. But yeah, I think that's just a bit different from what we normally get to experience as Spurs fans, and we should enjoy it in case he's rubbish.
I want to ask people in the comments. I want to hear from people watching on the stream. Who's the best signing we've made, but also who did you want to see sign that we didn't sign? Not necessarily, or a position.
Not Messi, Ronaldo.
Yeah, not Messi, Ronaldo, but someone out there you thought we could have got him.
We could have got Erling.
Yeah.
Haaland.
Do you have Ronaldo?
Would I have Ronaldo?
No.
No. Look, we had to rebuild after a difficult Premier League season. And like you said, or someone said on here, you may have said it, James, sorry. If you'd said to me at the start of the window, we're going to sign Palhinha, Kudus, Kolo Muani, Simons.
Romero on a new contract.
Romero on a new contract.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Massive.
That's big, isn't it? it is a 7-point something window for me. I think we needed to get rid of players. That doesn't necessarily affect the first team necessarily, but you don't want bad eggs hanging around.
No. Yeah, that's the disappointment. We mentioned it earlier that we just haven't got players out. Which
We're
is
so
just
bad.
So bad. We said on the pod earlier, I know you weren't listening, you were at work, that Chelsea have rid of 19 players and made about £250 million.
Yeah, maybe we should buy a French club that we can sell our players to.
Ben Chilwell has agreed a deal to Strasbourg.
Yeah,
Shock.
how did that happen?
How'd they do it? Todd Bailey talking to himself in the mirror.
How do you reckon? Like, Ben Chilwell says, "Do you know what? I don't fancy it. You're going." Like, I mean,
Strasbourg's lovely. I don't blame it.
We digress.
We've edited your contract on Acrobat. PDF editor has allowed us to do it, mate. You're off.
Yeah.
It's last summer's window wasn't great, was it? It was full of kids. This is the adult in the room window that I personally wanted, and we've got. But are we short? The one thing I keep seeing on Twitter, we're short, which is why I'm asking people, what do people think we could have got? I know Lookman for me would have been good.
I think we're short based upon the rumours and the links we had. And if we didn't have the links to Savinho and Lookman, no one would say we're short.
Please be making a great point.
What?
Mike Cleesby.
Don't. Oh, okay, sorry. Mike Cleesby in the chat. Don't forget, Thomas Frank is our best signing.
As long as he doesn't play Nuno ball like he did against Bournemouth, where there's no one in the centre of the pitch at any given
Well,
time.
Xavi Simons is there for that.
I'm big on Frank, so I'm not going to go too bad on that.
Let's just pick out.
I do think you're right, though. I think people get very swept up with social media. They also get very swept up with what other clubs are doing. And it's telling as well. You know, they always look at, and people say, well, you know, yes, we always look at City and Chelsea and Arsenal and Liverpool because that's where we want to be. We've also still got to sort of just understand where we are, I think, in the pyramid.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't really want to talk too much about Chelsea because I just think any rule that's ever been written, they look for a way to circumnavigate it and get around it. And at some point, I just think that bubble has to burst. It has to.
Or we have to behave the same, unfortunately.
Or we have to behave the same. You know, Arsenal have been building something for a number of years. The reality is, I think we have acted, you know, when you look at, they never mention in windows like this, Newcastle, Villa, Everton, these other clubs that are of an actual comparative size to where we are, and we have now really gone far beyond. And those clubs are looking at us going, bloody hell.
Villa have had a terrible window.
But they're completely hamstrung by PSR, and this is what...
No, they're not hamstrung by PSR. They're hamstrung for them putting themselves in that situation.
Yes.
Within this rules.
Correct.
Let's not blame PSR.
No,
absolutely.
no, 100% correct.
Yeah.
And this is where people sort of, you know, I've heard a lot of debate about, PSR isn't fit for purpose. It's
Absolutely
fit for purpose. It's doing the exact job it's meant to do.
If you behave correctly,
correct.
You will. Yes, there's City and Chelsea getting away with. Well, City seem to work out loopholes. City have definitely got away with stuff in the past that allegedly.
I think City have now set themselves up in a way to be much more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Chelsea have not.
No.
Right? And so therefore they are selling women's teams to themselves, selling Ben Chilwell to Strasbourg, because Strasbourg, I'm sure at the beginning of this window went, you know who we want? Ben Chilwell. Like, you know, it's
He was good about a week.
But the point, the larger point that I'm making is, you know, people will say, people will complain about PSR on the basis of, well, you know, Villa don't generate as much. Well, nor did Tottenham until we built this great big new stadium. Oh, that new stadium hasn't changed anything. It very clearly has. You know, people say the stadium hasn't changed. It very clearly has. And you take a look at a window like this. And yes, we're also in the Champions League. And had we not been in the Champions League, it would have been very, very different. I completely take that on board. But Villa are in the Champions League. Newcastle are in the Champions League. You know, they were there. They're still not doing, I think, what we are doing, because the way this club has been built and that stadium and what we generate, it should point to a lot of positivity for how we go forwards.
I don't know if you can work this out, and it might be a bit of a pain. What percentage of the Premier League spending was by Liverpool and Arsenal?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because
if I'm going to add 125 mil to Liverpool's, which takes them to 430 mil.
Yeah,
430 mil. Arsenal 250 mil. So that's
so many players.
Yeah, so that's what 680 out of 680 million out of 3 billion.
Fair.
What's that?
So if you had Chelsea to them, is it, or maybe
A
even
fifth.
us?
It's a fifth.
Yeah.
Actually, we've if you
a fifth.
consider Tell and Danso, we've spent a lot of money as well.
Yeah. But we are still short. There's no doubt. I think in two areas in particular. Now with the signing of Kolo Muani, who I think gives us unbelievable depth.
That guy there on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah.
Kolo Muani. Nice to meet you.
Don't look up any videos of him,
No, why?
just in case. Just,
Why?
Just don't look up at.
Should I put it up?
We'll get to. Can you
Yeah, but
blur it?
you don't see any of those videos.
No, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, no, I don't.
When we're off stream, Saliba Muani dressing room.
I saw someone going on about Saliba and Muani
I introduced James earlier,
Well,
and
just after 9 o'clock. So
yeah,
no, let's talk about his football ability.
No, look, I think he gives us tremendous depth. He is predominantly a striker.
Yeah.
Juventus did want him, by the way. They really did. They just
No.
couldn't do it.
Lordy, yeah. Juventus did want him. They just
Couldn't get
couldn't
it done.
afford him.
Yeah.
With financial
If you're going to buy a
constraints.
forward and they happen to have played for Frankfurt before, I think you've done a good job because they just seem to
Churn
make
him out.
great strikers. Maybe not Jovic, but
Yeah, but no, he gives us. I think about the fact is now in that front area we really
It's not
should-
live. He's not
you
put
guys-
it.
I know, but
It's
you
not
guys
live.
can
He's
see
put
it.
the Saliba video up. I can't see it properly. I'll watch it later. Go on. Let's talk about his ability, please.
he's strokes the
Is
ball
that
really
right?
well.
We've lost. Gary's gone. Gary's gone.
He handles the ball really well.
Tell me about his ability, please, James
I just did.
Robbins.
Handles the ball really well.
You would have done your due diligence on this.
Yeah, he
Shafted him like that.
he is a versatile forward. Works really well in transition. So I don't know how he'll play against a packed defence. I think a lot of us have seen him play for France, where he's looked pretty dangerous.
Needs space.
A danger in more ways than one.
Needs space.
Doesn't look like it. He's quick. He's tall. I think
6'2".
Yeah.
I think if I took Solanke, Richarlison, and Kolo Muani, I don't know how I'd rank them. I made a joke on Twitter that he's not better than Richarlison because he's the best ever, but that's not really what I think. I think he's the one that can make a goal on his own.
Yeah.
That Ekitike goal that he scored against us
Yeah.
in the Europa League has stuck with me since that happened, and I was like, I don't think
Any
either of
of
our
our-
strikers
yeah,
could do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Some of our players could. Madison, people not like it, but I think Tell could. Ball striking's ridiculous if he gets the opportunity. Kudus, maybe. But I don't think Richarlison and Solanke could.
Well,
I
it's a
think
travelling a distance like that as well.
Yeah. I think Kolo Muani can.
We've
Pretty happy with it. I get it's not Savinho.
I think
No,
but it's
in this guy here, Kolo Muani. This guy here, I'm going to press all of them now. Xavi Simons. This guy here, Mohamed Kudus. We've signed 3 players that like to go past their man, will go past their man, will certainly try to go past their man. When if we had 3 players in the team that can do that?
And I think again, this is what I was alluding to earlier on today when I was saying, football's a simple game. And I think what Frank really wants is you can talk all the time about intricate passing to break down teams. At the end of the day, you beat a man, and it opens up the team. All you need, get past one man, and they're out of shape. You're in, right? And it's actually one of the hardest things to do. And it was actually Jake Sanders who sat here at the beginning of last season and said his concern for us is that we don't have wingers that you can play it into and they beat their man. They all want it in behind.
Kolo Muani's not that though, and I'd argue we actually haven't. I think we've got 2 really that are that, and that's only Kudus and Odobert. And people don't rate
Stop
Odobert.
going on about Odobert.
No, but look, just profile, and I have a
What,
big.
you're saying that Kolo Muani doesn't go past his man?
He does, but he's a transition player. So if we are playing against packed defence, he's not necessarily going to do it.
Oh, he's not gonna do a
a
standing start.
No, he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
This is where I think we're short in a sense of profile and not numbers. Bournemouth showed our lack of passing in midfield.
Totally.
We had no one to progress it through the middle whatsoever. The amount of times Romero was like,
Where do
I go? And Bentancur, we saw his limitations. He tries to do it, but he's very sideways. He's so scared of breaking lines. I don't really know why, because he's definitely got the ability to do it.
This is what
But
I said earlier. I would have
think
Bergvall in the team now.
Bergvall. Bergvall and Gray don't pass progressively at the moment. Not a lot of young players do at their age, but they dribble. So it would have been nice to have one of them in midfield. Simons can drop deep and do it. Kolo Muani, I'm not sure.
I think if we'd had him in the team against Bournemouth, the little space that we did have,
I'm more excited
might
to see him
have
up
used it.
front than I am on the wing.
We're going to speak to top Serie A commentator Adam Somerton now, who would have seen a lot of him this season, and he can tell us all about him.
It would help if I plugged this.
James tells me he's here. He was.
Do not Google that video.
Where is he? Ready? Yep. Still can't see him, James. Huh?
Will makes a comment there. Tackles and running, we needed more than passing. And in games, certainly. Absolutely. Like for Man City games and such, Palhinha, brilliant. But
Not
I think
against
we saw
Bournemouth.
it. I think, unfortunately, we're going to play more mid-table teams than anything else in the league.
Yeah.
And it's those teams that I worry about we play against.
There he is.
actually.
There he is. Hi, Adam. Can you hear us?
I can. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
So I'm joined here by Gary and James Robbins. They'll chip in as well. So we've been talking about Kolo Muani. The deal was announced at 8 o'clock tonight. For me, who better to talk to than top Serie A commentator Adam Somerton? I don't know how many of the, what have I got here, 22 apps, 10 goals you saw of him, but you would have seen a fair bit. What are we getting?
He's a good player. I like him, and I know that Juventus were very keen to keep him. In fact, they've spent most of the summer trying to keep him, to be honest, but just couldn't reach an agreement with PSG, which has gone all the way down to the wire. So I think at Juventus, I know Juventus fans are disappointed that they're not keeping him. It was a bit of a mixed spell that he had at Juventus because he started off like a house on fire, really. He joined at the end of January, for people who maybe don't know. That was under Thiago Motta. And he scored on his debut. That was a loss to Napoli. He then scored, well, he scored in his first 3 games. He ended up with 5 goals from his first 3 games. So people are thinking, wow, this guy settled brilliantly. And at the time, they were lacking a bit of a cutting edge. So I think that he helped provide that and maybe was a bit of a game changer in that respect. But then there was a real dry spell and he didn't score for, I think it was 11 games.
It'll fit right in.
And of course, then people were then questioning the situation and why wasn't he scoring goals. But I think you have to take into account that Juventus were a very up and down side last season. They were lacking consistency. And then, of course, we ended up with Thiago Motta, who'd only come in at the start of the season, ended up losing his job. And so it probably wasn't the easiest of sides to play in. Particularly for a centre forward. But he ended up with 10 goals and 3 assists in 22 appearances. So if you look at the overall piece, although he had that 11-game spell where he didn't score, he then found some form again in terms of goals towards the end of the season. But there was also that change in manager with Igor Tudor coming in. And Igor Tudor, to begin with, seemed to prefer Vlahovic as his central striker. So there's a lot to take into consideration in terms of his time at Juventus. But in terms of the type of player, I think he's somebody who can stretch defences. He's somebody who can hold the ball up. He carries the ball well. He dribbles with the ball well. I think he can combine with others. He's an exciting player. I mean, I suppose you probably already talked or looked at his goal record, which is a mixed bag. And he's somebody that's been around lots of different divisions for somebody who's still fairly young. But I think he's an exciting signing for Spurs and part of what could be quite a dynamic and fun to watch forward line and proactive forward line as well. I think it's quite exciting what they're doing at Spurs, actually, in terms of the forward line.
I was going to ask you that. 2022, he signed for Frankfurt. Then he went to PSG, he had a spell at Juve. So Spurs are his, fourth club in 3 years. For him, does he need to settle? It looks like a straight loan. Do you think he needs to settle? And do you think he can take all those attributes into the Premier League?
Yeah, I'd certainly be confident that he could take those attributes that I saw at Juventus into the Premier League. I don't see why not. I mean, I had a look at his record before I came on to talk to you, and I mentioned that he's been in several leagues. If you think he's been in 3 of the top 5 European leagues before he's even been to England. So in France, it was 21 goals in 79 league appearances with Nantes. Then in the Bundesliga, 16 goals in 34 league appearances with Eintracht Frankfurt. Then back to France with PSG, 8 goals in 36 league games. Italy, 8 goals in 16 league games. And we'll see what he can do in England. But I think the PSG situation or his time there is difficult to assess because there was a falling out with the coach who he just didn't seem to see eye to eye with. I mean, that's why he was always going to leave in this window, whether it was to Juventus or somebody else. They just had to get him out the club because he wasn't going to play. Luis Enrique had made that clear. So, as I say, in terms of assessing that time in his career, you really do have to take that relationship with Luis Enrique into account. But you also have to, I suppose, look at the fact that he's a player that PSG were prepared to pay 95 million euros for not that long ago at all. So they obviously saw plenty in him. And as I say, I think if you to look at the attributes that he has, he is a centre forward with a lot of attributes, and I could see him working quite well with some of the players that Spurs already have, people like Johnson and Kudus. And potentially Simons as well. It's a forward line that should have a lot of creativity and a lot of goals in it. I if I were a Spurs fan, I'd be pretty excited by it, by what you have there. Obviously, Xavi Simons is another. I think you said you might want to speak about him as well. But
tell us. I mean, on your travels, Ad, you've done so many games, national games, and across so many countries. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, well, I saw him. I didn't see much of him in Germany, so I'll say that. But I did see him a couple of times live in Holland, actually at PSV. And I liked him. I really liked him. I watched a game where PSV beat Arsenal, and he was one of the best players on the pitch. They had Cody Gakpo then as well. Both of them were in the team then. And his technical ability, his close control, his balance when on the ball, really, really good. And I remember watching him at the time and I thought, this kid's not going to be playing in the Eredivisie for too much longer. And I thought he probably would make the leap to the Premier League sooner than he has done. But obviously, I think sometimes for players coming from the Eredivisie, it does make sense to go to another league before the Premier League because it is a significant leap. And we've seen a real mixed bag of results, haven't we, with players who've gone directly from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. So and that was probably quite sensible in terms of career progression. My only concern about Xavi Simons is his size because he is quite slight physically, and that would be my only concern with him, with the physicality of the Premier League. To give you an example, someone like Danso, who I saw in Italy last season, one of his biggest strengths was how hard he was to get off the ball in Serie A. And Serie A has become a fairly physical league. It's a lot more high intensity than it was years ago. And I've already noticed that he's finding that more difficult in the Premier League. So when I can compare them directly, you see. So that would be my only concern, but he is technically able perhaps to overcome that. And I suppose that it's something you can work on, isn't it, in terms of your physique and things like that. But in terms of his ability on the ball, it's a seriously exciting player.
Jumping back to Kolo Muani, I want to preface this because I am leaning on concerns, even though for years I've rated Kolo Muani quite highly. As I said earlier, any Frankfurt forward, pretty good. But my concern is we're going to come up against a lot of tight defences, packed defences. Against Bournemouth, that was part of what we struggled against, especially towards the end of the game. Kolo Muani is a very transitional player. How do you think he can handle those packed defences? Because we're going to see him up front and on the wing. Do you think that's a facet of his game that he can handle? Or do you think that, he needs to transition, he needs space?
Well, he's somebody, if you look at his best assets, I think you're right in that he carries the ball really well, dribbles with the ball really well. So, yes, I take your point on that. But, I mean, his record in the league in Serie A, albeit it's a small sample size, was 1-2. And, of course, there were plenty of times when Juve were coming up against teams who would play where they would be expected to break them down. And Juve would have a lot more of the ball. I mean, I can recall him scoring against Empoli.
Recording in progress.
Early games, and remember him scoring against Como as well. So I do think he has the skill set to be able to do that, and I think as well you have got people there who can unlock the door and create chances too. I think there is, as I've said earlier, there's a lot of creativity in that Spurs side, and you've got players who should be able to whip crosses over to him as well. I mean, I remember watching Porro several times last season, and when I was covering Tottenham in the Europa League quite a bit, and I really enjoyed his crossing ability. I think I looked up the stats, and he was, I think he at one point, I don't know if he ended the season, but there was certainly a point where he was putting in more crosses than anybody else in the entire Premier League. So I think Spurs have got different they've got different weapons, different ways of opening a team up, and different ways to service a centre forward. And I think one of the good things about him is his versatility as a player. He's somebody that can play wide himself if required. He can play off as like a support striker. He can play as the lead striker. He can stretch defenses. He can come a little bit shorter, and other players can play off him. So has quite a broad skill set as a centre forward, and can bring other teammates into play and be part of quite a fluid forward line too. Did
he play exclusively down the middle for Juve?
No, there was. I can remember some occasions where Vlahovic started, and he started behind him. I'm trying to remember whether I saw any games where he started off wide. I can't remember. The majority of the time, I think he started up front. But I've seen him play at other times where he's played slightly wide, and as I say, he can play as more of a support type striker. So I like him. You look at his record and you think, well, he's never been truly prolific, but I think it's a decent goal scoring record, and it's a fairly broad body of work now for a player who's still pretty young in that the leagues that he's played at, the teams that he's played in, the different types of teams that he's played in too. So as a deadline day signing, and with Juve having been trying to sign him literally all summer, it could turn out to be a good pickup for Tottenham.
Just pivoting away from Kolo Muani for a minute, another player that Spurs were linked with, I don't know how far this ever got, but it looks like a real talent in Serie A, was Nico Paz at Como. Tell us about him, because Spurs have a habit of going back for players. We've got a bit of a thing with Real Madrid as well. Where does his future lie? Tell us about him as a player, and is it just a done deal that he's going to go to Madrid?
It looks like it, and I think Como, they're a very ambitious team themselves. I mean, for people who perhaps don't watch Serie A regularly, I think maybe it's escaped some people because the way that they're investing right now and the ambition that they're showing, one of the highest spending teams in Serie A this summer. You probably saw the free kick that he scored for them recently as well, which was unbelievable technique. But I think probably his future, I would imagine he would end back up at Real Madrid. And I don't think there's been any... I've just literally back from my daughter's football training, so I'm not fully up to date on any transfers. I don't know if he's been involved in anything tonight. I'd be seriously surprised if he had been. But I think he probably will end up back at Real Madrid. And, that would make sense because he's a player I think he's capable of playing for a team of that size. And he's really improving. I have to say I was surprised that I ever saw that link taken particularly seriously, if I'm honest, because I knew that Como would not be looking to let him go. I mean, you only have to look at how hard or how firm Como were over Fabregas and Inter, because Inter really wanted Fabregas to replace Inzaghi, and Como were just like, no chance, you're not having him. So it didn't surprise me that they, that they would be make sure that they didn't lose one of their best players, if not their best player right now, for a side who finished 10th last season. And I think a lot of people in Italy suspect that they will seriously push to finish in the European places this season. And he's a really important part of that.
And somebody that didn't do so well at Como, but with strong Spurs connections, was Dele Alli, who I think has been released today.
Yeah, looks like
right?
it,
What tell us a bit about, because we've all got such affection for Dele. What happened out there with him?
Not much, to be honest, which is a really sad thing. Got sent off on his debut at San Siro, and I mean, it's just been, a really sad story. I mean, I think it's terrible to see such a talent at still such a relatively young age just disappearing. And I mean, he's obviously somebody that's had got his well documented challenges, which again I thought he was really brave actually in what he did in terms of speaking out about that. Yeah. But I think he probably hoped that going somewhere like Italy, where a lot of British players have gone recently and really rejuvenated careers or careers have kicked on. And I would imagine that might well have been the idea, to see, can I change of scenery, a new country, a thriving league, an up-and-coming manager? Will that help me kickstart my career? And look, I can't sort of give you the reasons as to why that hasn't happened. Dele Alli would be the only person, I suppose, who could truly tell you why it hasn't happened. But in answer to your question, basically nothing's happened. It's just, there's not really anything to say other than, it's being sent off on his debut was the biggest headlines it made, really.
And final question from me again. Another player that was heavily linked with Tottenham, particularly in the last couple of days, was Lookman. Nothing seems to have happened. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think he's gone anywhere. He made it quite clear he wanted to leave Atalanta.
Screams 6 months or a year in Turkey, doesn't it?
What's the situation with him? Why is he so desperate to get away, and why has nobody taken him up?
Well, he'd wanted to leave previously and was persuaded to stay for another season, which he did. And then during that season, there was a very public falling out with Gasperini, who was critical of his penalty-taking skills after a Champions League
Not Panenka
game.
again, was it?
Yeah, I don't think it was actually. I just think I'm trying to remember if it got saved or what happened, but there was a big public falling out, and Gasperini it was a bit of a misstep from Gasperini, which is quite unusual for him. But it led to a very big public falling out. They patched that up, and now, of course, Gasperini has gone on to Roma. I think from Ademola Lookman's perspective, I think it was this classic case of, you told me I could go, and now you're making it difficult. We've seen that with quite a few players this summer. Why has there been no take of that? That's a difficult one to answer, because in terms of his ability and his form, you would think that there would be, because there's a really strong body of work behind him from his time in Italy. I can give you two theories as to why the number of takers might not be so broad as he might hope. One is his age, because he's knocking on his late 20s now. And if they were to sell him, they would want top whack. And it's a question of, do you want to buy a player for top whack who's at that age? Yeah. I think some Premier League clubs might be slightly put off, and I'm not saying they'd be right to do this, but they might be slightly put off with his previous Premier League experiences. So I think that could possibly play a part as well.
Salah, De Bruyne, for example, go off and come back, and other players leave the Premier League and come back. And
it did come back earlier, but I was surprised to see 15 Serie A goals for him last year. I mean, that's a top return.
Yeah, and I think, look, it was a good return, and he was very important to the team. And I think another reason why I would advise any club who look at Atalanta players, or certainly in recent years, look at Atalanta players to buy, just buyer beware a little bit, because...
Oh, yeah, I agree. There's a curse. Atalanta forwards, they leave and then they do nothing. It's very, very strange.
Well, I think part of it is because the way that Gasperini sets up his teams and the way that he plays with the man marking all over the pitch, it means that players they're drilled to within an inch of their lives in terms of how they're expected to play. And they begin to flourish within the certainty of a system. So they all know exactly what's expected of them, what they're to do when the ball's here, what they're to do when this person moves to this place. So when they're then taken out of that system and they have to play in a different system, I think with some of them, it's almost like their brain scrambles a bit. And we've seen that with several players, not every player who's left a Gasperini side, but we have seen it with some. I mean, a very high profile example of last season was Tern Koopmeiners, who went for a big fee from Atalanta to Juventus and was nowhere near the level of player that he had been at Atalanta. So that I'm trying to sort of think here as to why clubs might be a little reluctant, but there's three reasons. And maybe another is that Inter had made it quite clear that they wanted him. I don't know why that's not gone through, whether it was a disagreement over the fee, where they've not been able to reach an agreement. But there would have been perhaps other clubs who've maybe done business thinking, well, we may as well forget Lookman. We're not going to get him. He's going to Inter. And it's ended up, looks like he isn't going to Inter. So there's a few reasons why he might still be available. But I tend to agree with what you said. It probably at this stage has got Turkey or Saudi written all over it at the moment.
Ad, thank you so much for all that. I love tapping into your Serie A knowledge. Unfortunately, we've not got a Serie A team in our Champions League draw, so we'll speak to you before we play Inter in the final. But until then, I might see you around work very soon. But thank you so much for joining us, and great to get your thoughts.
Pleasure. Nice to speak to you.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay.
Top commentator, Adam.
Knows his stuff.
Knows his stuff, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting on Kolo Muani. I think you look at opposing fans looking at us. I've got Arsenal fans in my mentions worried about the players we've signed.
Yeah. There's no question of quality on Muani at all. There's honestly, with some of the players, it's only a question of profile. And I back Thomas Frank to make things work, just because he's an adaptable coach. It's a stopgap, and you know what? If he smashes it, and maybe we sell a striker next summer, maybe he wants to stay. Maybe we sign Kolo Muani, and maybe he's our striker.
Where do you sit on the straight loan? You don't see many of those anymore.
No, it's weird.
No word obligation, no word
about it,
whatever the other word is.
Because you know they're not that
on deadline day. You can get deals that are done like this just to get them done, and then further conversations will take place. It wouldn't
Can I ask you
surprise
that, guys?
me.
I asked you off air, sorry, whether you think we would have signed Kolo Muani if the Solanke injury hadn't happened.
I think there's a few things that fall into place. So firstly, obviously, I think Kolo Muani was destined for Juve the whole summer. So it was probably off the table. Of course, he also rejected coming to us back in January, for which I bear no grievance. We were languishing in the league and certainly not looking like we'd be in the Champions League this season. And any player that is at that level would want to be at a club that's in the Champions League. So I think, firstly, a few things had to fall in place. Is it to do with Solanke? I think it's more to do with Savinho and not being able to get him. And I think Savinho... I think they had an injury to Cherki over the weekend.
2 months out.
So Cherki's out for 2 months. So I wonder what would have happened with Savinho had Cherki not. I'm not saying we would have signed him, but I think once Cherki gets injured, that knocks it.
Do you
dead.
think people? The other new thing is, where's that 70 million for Savinho gone? Well, did it not go because we didn't buy Savinho?
So there's been rumours that it's been very clear that we want first 11 improvement. And I've mentioned Kolo Muani already as a bit of a stopgap. I think it is a lot to do with the Solanke injury because he is a completely different style of player to Savinho. Like I said, Kolo Muani is more of a striker than a winger, can play wide. Savinho is touchline, dribble, run up the pitch on his own, skin two players, get a cross in. That is not the same player.
But I don't think it's to do with Solanke.
Lookman is also not that profile either.
Yeah.
Lookman is very inside forward, Sonny kind of player. If you want to compare him,
I personally didn't want Lookman for a few reasons. But when it comes to Muani, I'm going to contest that it's to do with the Solanke injury. I think once Savinho isn't available, we're looking at the squad depth. And like I said at the top of this, with somebody like Kolo Muani, we shouldn't ever be short at number 9 now. What I wasn't aware of, that Adam enlightened me to, is that he sometimes played in the 10 behind Vlahovic. Right? Now, that's interesting to me, because that means then you've got the option of Simons going out left. Right, but he can also play on the wings, and of course, you had Kudus who played on the left for West Ham a lot.
We've got so many wingers now, though, left wingers,
and we haven't even mentioned your favourite Odobert, right? Who stays,
and
we haven't even mentioned Tell. So, I think
Tell came on at 10 at the weekend, which was very odd. So, if you think Kolo Muani is Tell you'd hope Tell becomes a better player. I think he can.
Yes, absolutely.
But very similar.
Yeah, I agree. But the point I'm making is, I think they've looked at it and said, well, okay, we haven't been able to get the exact profile of player that we wanted in Savinho. There's no point taking that 70 million and dumping it on Ademola Lookman, who's maybe not the right player. I'm pleased that they didn't do that. I know a lot of people were clamouring for it. It's an easy deal to get done.
It's meant to be cheaper as well, but it's still £30 million.
And he's still 28 years old, 29, and I just don't think he's the right profile player. I would rather keep our powder dry and take somebody like Kolo Muani, who basically guarantees, as long as he stays fit, he basically guarantees that we should be covered across the left wing, the right wing, the 10 and the 9 at all stages this season, right? And it might not be the exact profile of player that we would have wanted at left wing, Bear's a bloody good player.
Yeah.
So, the depth that it gives us is absolutely huge. And I think it's an opportunity because we didn't get Savinho. But had we got Savinho, I don't think we would have gone for Muani.
What are your thoughts on the left wing spot?
So I feel quite strongly about the whole need for a left winger because I would have loved Savinho. He's brilliant. He's young. He's a starting Champions League level player, and his ceiling is so high. And I think for that, if he's available, and clearly he was a first choice signing, you do your best to go get him. Sounds like we tried.
Sounds like they did do
sound
their
like he
best.
was open to selling
to it,
him,
yeah.
but that someone high up in City was stopping it. That seems to have been all the rumours online about that deal. But one thing that's great about this podcast is we have lots of varied opinions. But the chat has been winding me up because I'm not Odebear's like dad.
You're not the founding member of the Jed Spence fan club.
Odebear fan
You're
club.
not the founding. You tell him you're not the founding member. You were. Well, you've handed your badge in.
But I still
By
rate
the way,
these
I
players
like
as
Odebear.
talents. I like Odebear a lot. I think there's a talent there, and I've said before, it's killer instinct with him and age. So Odebear and Tell, I think at the start of the season, if we were never linked to a left winger, people would have been more fine with going into the season with them as the options there.
I wouldn't be.
That's fine. But it depends what you think from us this season. Are we trying to win the league this season?
No.
Probably not. With Savinho there, I would be expecting top 3.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Pushing it.
honestly,
I think that's pushing it. Maybe pushing top 4.
top 4
I
for
think
sure.
the gap's big.
I
there.
think, but like Tell and Odebear are getting a lot of flack, which I don't think is fair. Am I completely
agree.
happy with that position for them starting all season? No, because it's the only position in the squad banking on potential. Great potential,
Yeah.
but you're still banking on it, and there's no guarantee. They have played each 1,000, Odebear 1,000 minutes, and Tell 1,200 minutes. Most of Tell's minutes came in that back end of the season where he was back up playing Premier League thingy. In
A dead
awful.
team,
And
yeah.
Odebear's barely had 2 legs working for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Neither of them have had a run of games in a row. And I'm fine to criticise them. I think Odebear should have put a chance away, or at least got it on target the weekend. There was Tell could have shown more sometimes out wide, not losing the ball easily. Mentality on that kid's nuts, and he works really hard.
I said exactly that earlier on today.
Unbelievable strike at the weekend as well. That was so close to going in. He is the best striker of the ball in the club.
Well, Simons now probably is.
Maybe technique.
Tell
hits
a ball.
Well, Tell hits it more with laces.
Simmons is probably with Maddison the best technique of player. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think this season we could have gone in with them as the left wing options, and with a run of games you would have seen something good. Is it ideal? Depending what you want. No. Maybe we were going to do a developmental season for them, and that's fine. I don't think they deserve the hate they're getting.
100%.
I know that I'll agree with.
100% not.
You can think they're not good enough without being a dick about it.
Yeah.
I think we've got 4 incredibly talented young players at the club. Not even including.
What's the
Simons.
Latin for that? That should be the Spurs motto.
It should. It's very good.
We've got 4 incredibly talented young players at the club who.
One of them with Kolo Muani will probably be left out of the Champions League squad. I think that's really
Well,
harsh.
I'm sort of thinking about Gray, Bergvall, Odebear, and Tell, who have such high ceilings. The concern is less so with Bergvall, because I think he really should be getting games. And I said earlier today, I think he should be starting at this point ahead.
He should have started against Bournemouth, absolutely.
Ahead of
Even
Ben.
in hindsight, it was obvious when he came on. Changed the game for us, really.
I called the subs before, and I think that's the first time
All
I've
right.
ever done that, and I was very proud of
All right,
myself.
Thomas.
But I want Bergvall starting in that deeper role. I want him starting in the Bentancur role. I don't want him starting as a 10. He's not a 10. And actually, he's got the ability to dictate games from deep and be more progressive.
All right, guys. I
You mentioned it
know.
earlier.
I know. Every game, and we've already seen it with Frank. Every game might be different. Okay, go West Ham away. Everyone's fit. What's your starting 11?
When you say everyone's fit, you're talking Madison, Kulusevski, Solanke.
No, the long termers are still out.
I think let's not think about West Ham, because is that?
Well, it's only 'cause it's our next game.
But is that too soon for?
No.
Is that too soon to introduce Siemens?
No, you're picking them all.
Simmons has to play.
Yeah, no, you're
I think,
you're picking your players. I don't care whether they've been
what's
here
our
for a
best
week.
team? What's our best team going forwards?
Yeah.
That's a bloody tough question, isn't it? But that's the good thing, right? Is that it is a tough question.
But it's not about best team. It's about the opposition for me at the moment. Like Bournemouth, that team for Man City that we played at Bournemouth and was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And Burnley as well. I think it was perfect. 'Cause they tried to play, and you just had Palhinha, Sarr and Bentancur just mopping up, and it was fantastic. But it's these mid-table teams that, like Bournemouth, are just
we needed legs against
clever.
Bournemouth. Yeah.
You need legs. You need strength. And we really we just couldn't get the ball up the pitch.
You've mentioned Tellen Odebear. No, not a few people have mentioned it in the comments. No one's mentioned our top scorer from last season, Brennan Johnson.
Oh, we know what we
No,
think
but like
about-
it's
we know what we think
for the
about
first
him.
time in such a long time, we're sitting here with 6 forwards.
I don't want to watch him play football.
But we're happy to see him score goals. We've got 6 forwards.
I've said for a long time, I really like Johnson off the bench. And I think somebody mentioned here, if you've got sort of 3 forwards who can all take the ball in, hold it up, it puts less pressure on the left winger. I can't get my head around the concept of going into a football match with 10 players, 11 if that 11th one pops up at the far post. I can't get my head around that concept. Every footballer
Brennan
on the
is
pitch.
great against big teams.
Yeah,
because we can play because we're going to sit in.
Yes.
And
Yeah, you said that earlier.
I
today.
don't want him touching the ball for more than a touch.
Yeah.
That touch has to be a shot.
Yeah.
I feel for him because I think his confidence is shot. He was never this
How
scared
can your
of the
confidence
ball.
be shot when you've scored 18
He's
goals in a
but he's
season?
never
And
been
finishing
this,
against City
well, no,
was
but I think
sublime.
it's about what he's doing
I just
and
think
when
he's
he's
a bit
doing it.
weak
I think he's
mentally.
really scared of taking the ball.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think-
I've
I
said
think
that for
he's
2
just-
years.
I think his confidence
He
is shot
wasn't, though,
outside
at Forest.
But I think his confidence is
'Cause
shot
you're- sorry.
outside the box. I think he gets into the box
Yeah.
and he's like, this is
you
my
back him to
domain.
finish.
He was the
Like,
star
yeah.
man at Forest. It's very
Yeah.
different when you're the
But
star
the thing
man.
is, I think when you're in the stadium and the ball is about to be passed to him, you can feel the tension.
Yeah.
And when the ball and he'll feel it too. And then when he misplaces something or doesn't do the simple things right,
I said
you
this-
can you hear the sigh.
James, I said this about Stephen Pienaar. It's not the greatest comparison, but there's something in it. He was a great dribbler. When he came to Spurs, he never took a player on. I feel like you come to
Wasn't he like
Spurs.
31 then as well. He
Yeah,
was
but you come to
dusted.
Spurs and the expectations are so much bigger. When you're the best player at Nottingham Forest, you can swan around and be the big man. And he's at Spurs where he's expected to do a lot more. But I don't agree on the confidence. He scored 18 goals in a season. I just don't think he's got
It's
the best
confidence in
mentality.
attributes of his game,
So
and
this is
not
splitting-
necessarily
Yeah.
overarching.
This is sort of splitting opinion in the comments,
Always
and
does.
George Pena says, Johnson does the hardest thing in the game, which is stick the ball in the net. And this is why it's such a conundrum,
Can't do it on
right?
his
But this is why it's such a conundrum. And I would be playing Brennan Johnson in the big games, like you say, when we can sit in. I made the point earlier against City. What was so clever, because everybody would have expected us to go into that game with 3 at the back, right, and copy the Paris Saint-Germain performance. What was so clever was he went, do you know what, with Sarr and Palhinha in midfield, it's like playing against 4 men, right? Like, and they're just going to press, they're going to harry, they're going to mop everything up, and we can leave Johnson to make sure that when we break, he is getting in on that back post.
I would
right?
argue though about him. Like, yeah, I
So-
agree.
so-
I
so-
agree.
But I don't want to see Johnson
Against West Ham.
against teams that I believe we should be dominating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. My thing is, if I ask you both, if you're looking at all of those wide options, so Kudus, Tell, Odebear, now Kolo Muani might play there, Richarlison can play there,
Yep.
Simmons can play wide. What do you think's harder to coach? Arriving at the back post for a tap-in. Odebear scored 3, by the way, in hardly any minutes last season of those.
2 are in one game.
2 are in one game, a really important game.
Yes.
Or do you think
And it was
every
very
other
Johnson-like.
yeah, it was. And or do you think every other facet of the game is harder to coach? Honestly, because he can't dribble, he can't pass, he doesn't run with it, he can't take on a man, he can't. His defensive stats are all right, his pressing stats are okay, but we've seen it. But like this is what I mean.
I don't
with
want
him.
to get too caught
What's
up
the
on.
point?
I don't want to.
But if you sat him down at the end of the season, he'd sit there and go, I scored 18 goals.
Yeah, I love him.
I don't
for
want
it.
to get too caught up in the Johnson chat, right? Because what we
Scored
have,
the final goal,
what we actually
Right,
have,
amazing.
what we have now is an embarrassment of riches up front. And I think just going back to the point, Kolo Muani ensures that we should never be short in any area. We've got so many options, and it's got to be a good thing. It really does. In terms of our strongest team, off the top of my head, what do I think on paper is our strongest team, not including long-term absentees? And I'm not going to include Solanke as a long-term absentee because at the moment that hasn't been confirmed. So I think the back four picks itself with the exception of
Udogie Spence.
Or Porro Spence, right? But you'd probably say at this moment it's Porro and Udogie, right? Just about. Just about.
Really, you're picking Udogie over Spence?
So if you look at our left, if we got Savinho,
I would pick Udogie.
Spence would be, because he wants to be inside on his right foot. So Savinho, you're like, ooh, actually, Spence can fill that void in that central, that kind of more inside right channel. We don't. Tell likes to dribble into side. Odegaard can do both, but again,
I can't see them starting,
development.
James.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not even. By the way, I wouldn't start Odegaard every game. Absolutely not. I'd be rotating. But Johnson wants to get inside, so really, you want Udogie on the outside. Udogie's also likes to get to the box and then try and dribble into the box, to be fair.
I don't think this defence is in a position yet where it can't pick its best defensive fullback. I don't think you can have Porro and Udogie at the moment in the same team.
Udogie is, for me, very good defensively. I don't just because Spence has been unreal in the one-on-one duels. When Udogie's fully fit, he's also very good.
All right, but there's a question mark. Who are you playing in front?
So my if I'm playing 4-2-3-1, I would be going with Palhinha and Bergvall. I love Bergvall. I absolutely love him, and I just think he's going to be a sensational player, and we need to get him on the pitch. And I think for the most part, when he's on the pitch, we're a better team. He's prone to the odd brain fart, the odd heavy touch, or whatever it is. But I think when he is on the pitch, we are a better team all round. So I'd go with Palhinha and Bergvall.
I'm a bit different. I like Palhinha, Bergvall. I'm also open to Sarr in place of Palhinha.
Yeah.
Just because I think he started.
I made this exact
enough.
point. Again, you didn't watch.
He makes as many tackles and as Palhinha does. So.
I made this exact point. I said for me,
but Palhinha is
for me. It would be Palhinha or Sarr, and Bergvall or Bentancur or Gray. Right?
Yeah, I think Bergvall is currently third in that pecking order of Gray and Bournemouth game maybe changed my mind, but before the Bournemouth game, I was like, Bergvall looks third choice, which surprised me.
Not for me. He may look for third choice, but for me, I think
the reason I've asked this question, and I'm glad we're having this debate because it means we finally got a squad, is the forwards. Because I can't work out who's going where.
Well, I was thinking about it just now, and I'm still. I think Kudus is right wing. Right, you don't move that.
Yeah.
We're screwed if he's injured, man.
I think
Kolo Muani.
No,
Kolo Muani play there for France. He's played there a lot for France.
Like to do what Kudus does.
Yeah, but you've got cover.
Kolo Muani could do that. So I think Kudus is right wing. I think Simons goes into the 10, assuming Kulusevski and Maddison are out. Right. Simons goes into the 10, and I think this will be controversial. People might not like this, and people say, well, Frank said that Richarlison isn't this. I would actually go Kolo Muani up front and Richarlison left.
Yeah, see, I think that's what I would do.
Interesting. I like
Richarlison on the left.
He played
wing.
really well on the left in the final.
I think he always plays well on the left wing. I like him.
Purely on the game. And I've not seen enough of Kolo Muani. So if we're going West Ham, I would want someone dribbly on the left to break them down if they're going to play deep, and they're going to have Wan-Bissaka there. So it's tough, actually, thinking of Wan-Bissaka. So maybe Richarlison for the physicality.
Yeah.
Because actually, he's so good in one-on-ones. Even if Fordebear is a good dribbler, I don't know if he can do it. So maybe I agree, actually, with Richarlison on the left.
My concern is that Frank has said that he sees Richarlison as a 9. I think Frank's gone early on that because I think Richarlison's best performances, as I remember them for Watford, for Everton, and for us. For me, I've been happiest with him out on the left
Everton,
wing.
it was definitely up front because
he played on the left.
He did play on the left, but he scored a lot of goals.
A lot of his goals when Calvert-Lewin was always crocked.
I think they could rotate between the two of them. I would be starting Kolo Muani against West Ham, Simons behind him, and Richarlison on the left, and rotating them.
Yeah.
I don't think you can play Odegaard or Tell against West Ham.
No.
You could play Kolo Muani on the left, but of all the positions,
If Kyle Walker-Peters
it's the
starts
least
on
he's
the left,
played.
and I know I like Kyle Walker-Peters a lot.
Has he been playing?
He's played
Yeah,
in
he
the win. I
he
think,
set
the
up.
other day.
He had an assist the other day.
Yeah, but mate, if Kyle Walker-Peters there,
You've got to get Kudus on him.
Put one of the young boys on him because
If Kyle Walker's
Tellen Ottaway
hang
would
on,
skin
if
him.
Kyle Walker's
As would
playing, Kyle Walker's playing left back.
Kyle
Kyle
Peters.
Walker-Peters
playing
left
right back.
Playing right back.
Left back, they've got a very good left back actually. They bought Malik Diouf from French. I think he's a French on 21.
I swear to God, West Ham always have a player called Diouf in their team.
They did. Is that his name? He looked quality in the under-21s, and he's the only player that's looked really good for them.
So that's the point. We do have options, and when you think,
Yep.
like, I think Kulusevski will be back around December. He adds a huge amount more as well. Maddison's obviously out for the season. I could see at the end of this season Richarlison being sold and us making Kolo Muani perm. But
If Kolo Muani has a great season and gets himself in a World Cup squad and we don't get back in the Champions League, he ain't staying.
oh no, absolutely.
But if he has a great season, chances are we've got ourselves back in it.
yeah.
Um,
So meanwhile, where are we at? Because we're Hill, Solomon, Bissouma.
a couple of people said, well, the Solomon deal to Palace hasn't happened, otherwise we'd know about it. Hill has got an hour and 14 minutes until 10:59 in
Solomon's
Spain.
on a deal sheet to Palace, and that can be done up to 1 a.m. So.
Oh, then someone here said it wasn't happening.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
I
I don't
know.
know. I just
Is that a permanent deal to Palace?
A loan.
because I think the sticking point was that Solomon wanted to.
Oh,
come
we're
back.
trying to get Solomon to La Liga now. Actually,
Well, there you go. He's got an hour and
As
15
well.
minutes.
he's been linked to Portugal as well. Is open, isn't it? Still, and he's been linked to Benfica and Porto today.
Yeah, I can see that. The
Yeah.
old Jose Dominguez little winger.
That Benfica winger Rafa, that's like just never been even linked
Yeah,
to leave, but been
He's
for
really
them.
good.
Very that.
Yeah, he's good though. Here we go. Ali Gold says the Solomon deal to Palace has collapsed. He'll just have to sit on the bench or not even on the bench. So
I mean,
look-
I think
We
we're going to have players not playing.
You'll
be
probably,
cutthroat.
well, yeah. I was about to ask you. You probably know more about this, and I suspect you might have done all your spreadsheets and
God, no,
homegrown
I've
and
not,
club
not done
train
that.
and-
Unfortunately, I'm
and-
waiting
and
for someone
so
else
on.
to do it. So I can
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing is, in terms of homegrown, Maddison was in there, and now he's just not going to be in there. So, are we struggling for Champions League homegrown players?
No, I don't think so. Spence, Austin,
Austin goes under club train. Spence,
Davis
Gray.
counts now. I think
Re-
Solanke.
Davis now counts as homegrown. He didn't last season, I don't think.
I think he'd started to last season. I think they started to count Wales. Solanke. Who else do we have? Johnson.
don't
Gray is too young. Goes on B list.
Danso doesn't count as homegrown, does he? Somebody said Danso here. I mean,
Danso might be homegrown because of his time at Milton Keynes
That'd be
and
a touch, wouldn't it?
Reading. Was he at Reading maybe?
That would be a touch.
We're lacking club trains. The big problem. Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
club trained, but we've seemed to be resigned to that for the event that we have. Bergvall and Gray in a year or two will be club trained, which is huge. Odebear's a
Yes.
year too young. Sarr couldn't because of Brexit.
Danso is homegrown. George Pena says Danso is
Gray
homegrown.
is association trained and will be club trained, but that's Premier League, I think. But they're so young that they're B list, I believe. Again, I'm trying to do it all.
According
off my
to
head.
according to an article from Football London a couple of weeks ago, club trained players we have one currently. You need 4 required. One, Brandon Austin.
It just means your squad is
Smaller.
smaller. It's
Yeah.
not, but yeah,
Association
ideally you
trained: Dominic Solanke, Ben Davies, James Maddison, Brennan Johnson, Jed Spence, Archie Gray, Ashley Phillips, who's not even here. Yeah,
have Dele Alli. Me and my friend
Dele
were
Alli.
trying to work out if he was if it was
just
club
sign
trained,
him, just stick him in the squad.
if he was club trained because he joined but then went back on loan. But I think loans are
He's
fine.
not coming back, James. Get over it.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, I'm kind of done. I also want to say that there's still a bit of moaning on Twitter that we're short. In reality, how many first team ready players are Spurs really ever going to sign in one window?
How many teams are in the perfect state right now?
Yeah.
How many? I don't think. I think
I
only
think-
Liverpool could be happy.
you
and even
said
them
earlier.
moaning about-
Liverpool and
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Well,
got Liverpool.
Liverpool didn't get their man today.
and
No, they
Liverpool,
didn't.
Liverpool moaning about depth.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
they for once, Spurs not the butt of the jokes tonight. I know Liverpool had a good night. They signed Isak, but there was Gahey did a leaving video for Palace, which has been leaked out. And
Has
obviously
been
that
leaked.
went through,
No.
and the Newcastle,
Poor guy.
the Newcastle statement on we've agreed a fee with Liverpool. The release of info that he's been sold was a 37-word statement. Newcastle can announce the sale of striker Alexander Isak to Liverpool for a significant British record transfer fee. The Sweden international joined the Magpies from Real Sociedad in 2022 and made 109 appearances in all competitions. That's it.
Dumb.
I feel for Ekitike because I love Ekitike.
He'll be all
I
right.
think he's brilliant. And then they've just kind of got Isak as well, who's maybe the top three, maybe the second. I'm still going to put Kane number one. Second best striker in the world.
What is a slight concern is we were saying earlier that Liverpool, assuming they sign Gahey, probably had the best window, but without signing Gahey, they are a little bit short.
If they keep leaving two centre backs back like Ange did, they're going to lose anyway.
I think the real question, I think the real thing, Gaz, is if you take Liverpool, Arsenal, and possibly City, we don't know out of it. What was our aim this season? To get back in the top 6, top 5. You look at United. People are going on about Bremo and Cunha, and no, they haven't sorted out their defence.
No.
They haven't sorted out the goalkeeper situation.
They haven't sorted out their midfield.
They haven't sorted out the midfield. They've got signed nobody in midfield that's going to
They
help
signed
them.
a keeper today.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's going to be any good.
Yeah.
Villa look a mess. Newcastle, they've just lost Isak. Yeah, they've signed Voltemada, and they'll probably sign Visser.
I rate Voltemada he was so fun.
So good in the 21s.
Yeah,
but
good.
it's a Premier
Can he
League.
scale up is a question.
And what I would say is he goes in as another absolute beast into a team of absolute beasts.
And
I would kill for us instead of Palhinha next summer if we want to is to spend like 100 million on Bruno Guimaraes. I think he's just so good, so good.
Yeah.
He is unbelievable.
He's brilliant.
That's probably the kind of that's the kind of midfielder we lack. Bergval's got a bit of that. But talking of money,
everything.
talking of money, another donation from Ray, who every episode chips in. It was £19.99 earlier. It's £9.99 now.
That's
I'm going to do
amazing.
this.
What a guy!
What a guy! But I'm going to do this.
He's covered James for my pizza he bought me earlier. That's cold next to me.
I keep saying this. Ray doesn't respond to this, but you've got to be a member to win this. The donations are great and we love them and keep them coming, and other people are welcome to do it. If you want to win this signed Mickey van der Ven shirt, it's not from the final, but it's a Europa League shirt signed by Mickey van der Ven. Got a replica medal, pictures of him from the final in Bilbao. You have to be an Echo of Glory member. Gary's going to tell you how to do that.
I've got no idea.
Isn't it on the website? You sign up there.
Yeah, sign up online. I'm going to press this button. James has put the button I need to press next to end stream. I think he does it to me on purpose.
My mum wants to win it, and I was like, I don't think
Is she
you're
a
gonna be
member?
I think she is, and I'm like, I don't think you're going to be allowed, mum.
She can win
No,
it.
she could be. Yeah,
can win it.
just as you remember.
I'll remember to take it down when it's on my wall for those home live streams.
All right. Look, taking away your Sunderlands, who've bought 13 players, good for them, and Burnley signed the players they needed. I think out of the big clubs in the Premier League, we've probably had the top 3 windows. I think Liverpool have had a good window. I think Arsenal have had a good window. And I think
If we did the deals we've just done 2 weeks ago, I'm saying it's at 8-9
Yeah.
because we've improved the squad massively.
Yeah, we've improved the first team massively, and by doing so, you've improved the squad. I think the only team in the Premier League that can say that they're close to having the squad complete is probably Arsenal, which concerns me and worries me. But I also wonder if
Still
they
got a
are.
Lego head as manager there.
They've got him as manager. I'm not sure Guy Koros is the person they think he is.
I think if Liverpool had signed Gahey, they would have had one of the best transfer windows.
100%, 100%,
Ever.
100%. But I think in terms of our ambitions this season, with the window now closed, I look at it and you know what? It's one of them. If we'd have beaten Bournemouth, I'd be saying, you know what? We should be finishing 4th or 5th. The manner of that performance puts some doubts in your mind. But
Yeah.
I think overall, I look at our squad, I look at the talent that we've got, and I'm going to put it out there and put a bit of pressure on Frank. I think there's a huge amount of work to go. I don't think people quite appreciate how bad we were last season, and the fact that this team really didn't know how to do anything at the end apart from sit in and defend with their lives, right? There's a lot of work to do.
You back Frank to
But-
do it. He's got a lot of learning to do.
I think, yeah, he does. I think anything lower than 6th would be a failure I really do. I'd take
Yeah, take sixth.
I'd take
lower
sixth.
than sixth.
I'd
It's
take
not
sixth,
great.
but
Bit
but
upset.
but I think anything lower than sixth would be a failure. I look at Chelsea and I'm like, they've got so many players,
They're so weird.
but
They could be anything. Yeah.
They could be anything, and I also look at it and I'm like, are they better than us on paper? I don't know.
Not back line, no.
On paper,
No.
probably not.
Back line, no. Midfield, yes.
Yeah, but
Forward line.
No. João Pedro's good.
João Pedro's really good.
Yeah,
João
yeah.
Pedro would walk into our strike as an striker.
Away from on the pitch.
Wide positions.
Away from on the pitch. I know we didn't get Gibbs White,
No,
Eze,
cool.
Savinho over the line. Feels a bit of a gear change. We don't know if there's new investment. Is it Vinay? Is it this? Is it that? Who knows why? It just feels a bit of a gear change in the players we're trying to get. And hopefully that doesn't stop. Obviously being in the Champions League helps. Look, Kolo Muani's not coming if we're not in the Champions League. And he looks at our squad, goes, Xavi Simons, I'll come and play for this.
All the rumours were like he really
wanted to come. So
which is
I'm just for the first time in 4 or 5 years, I'm confident. I think you said it earlier, Gaz. It's heading in the right direction. I'm fed up with the 18-month reboots, and who knows where Frank will take us. But it feels like it's going in the right direction.
A couple of things. Have we got another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, Savinho, yes, he wants to come because he doesn't see himself getting, first team football that regularly this season.
Pep rotation, isn't it?
Yeah. And also he's on 40 grand. I imagine that we're probably offering him, 80, 90, 100 grand, whatever it is. So yeah, naturally he'd want to come, and it's a World Cup year, so it made complete sense for him. But still, he wanted to come. So there's that. Another bit of breaking news from today out of Tottenham. I don't think you commented on this, but this split opinion in our chat was the Champions League prices, the Champions League
you want to
ticketing.
do that? Yeah.
I haven't seen that. It's going to hurt me, isn't it?
It's what was it 2 Cat C games, 1 Cat B, 1 Cat A.
Villarreal is B, Copenhagen and Slavia Prague is C, Dortmund is A.
Yeah,
That's not terrible.
Well,
that was my.
I agree with Gary
reaction.
and I agree with you. A lot of people are still angry. Some people, as Adam Nathan said, if you've got a season ticket, it takes your season ticket to over £2,000. I think Ollie Davis on Twitter said Dortmund is a category A. It's a last game of the group, could be a dead rubber. Why is that category? But it could also be a massive game.
It could be a massive game.
I tend not to
Dortmund
moan
are
about.
Dortmund.
I tend not to moan about ticket prices. Like
The
concession scene pisses me off, but
the concession scene is an interesting one because it's actually that there's people have said like comments like the older fans actually can afford to go, and there's
no,
nothing
you
for
can't
young
make that.
people.
You can't,
But
make,
you
that
can't
comment.
make that distinction. I just think there should be something for young people as well. That's not the argument.
There should be something for kids,
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
For me to sit where I want to sit and have to pay full price for my kid
It's
is
ridiculous.
Is mad.
The cheeky thing for me is that I'm not a season ticket holder, and they lessened the amount of Cat C games in the Premier League, and it's like you didn't up the price,
Yeah.
you've just made more
Yeah.
expensive games, and that's cheeky, and they know what they're doing.
But in terms of the Champions League,
But-
this is the Champions League. What's Cat A? 90 quid for Dortmund?
I think
Like,
I'd-
one
I'd-
Cat A in the knockouts when in the group stage when all of the knockouts are probably going to be Cat A. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can deal with that for now.
Yeah, I think Adam Nathan's point was, I think he feels the club should be looking at this as a bit of a bonus. It was not that we finished with a squad that was good enough to get into the Champions League. We got into Champions League off the back of, a final one game. So this is a complete bonus. And as a result, you can pass that on a bit to the fans with concessions. But you know what? The Europa League tickets were very fairly priced, if I remember right. And I think they
30 quid?
Yeah, I think they got that absolutely spot on. And I think if we're in the Europa League again next season, you'll see a return to that. But ultimately, the Champions League is the Champions League. When it came out, I looked at it, I was like, yeah, but I knew in my head it was going to be an expensive season because we're in the Champions League, right? And with the best will in the world, we are going out and signing Xavi Simons. We are going out and getting Kolo Muani and
Kudus.
Palhinha. And Palhinha.
I will argue
Really,
that those doing the protest, though, I'd respect them a lot more if it was about ticket prices and trying to advocate for people with less
Fairer
money and younger
fan
fans to have the
experiences.
opportunity to
100%.
have stadium experiences and go to matches, and not, you didn't spend 100 million on X player, because that is silly. Even if it is annoying, and there's loads of reasons to protest a club, but do something that helps fans that want to go.
Yeah.
Because Tottenham is a low-income area. Let's get some people in.
I think in every month Tottenham's a low-income area. Football should just be available to
everyone.
And how is the next generation of fans going to come through when? I mean, taking your kid to football today. I was on holiday. And my brother took his 2 kids. Right, so we've got the 3. We've got my ticket, his ticket, and we've got one that we share for our kids. So he took my ticket and the other ticket, right? For him to take his 3 kids to that game, I sent him a message because he sent me a picture of his kids at the stadium, bless them, all dressed up in their Spurs kit, and I said, I was like, I really hope they turn up for you. And after time I sent a message, I know my team too well.
Yeah,
I mean, what? And he's gone and spent. It must have cost him that day minimum £200 with some food, some drinks in the stadium as well. Minimum £200. How is that sustainable? And both his kids love Spurs. They both want to go as much as they can. Like, that's where these sort of protests and anywhere in the stadium.
Yeah, they need to focus. They need to focus. For me, their protest on that stuff. If we hadn't signed any players, fine, do that and set the next home game with the transfers. But it's been a good window.
If you go
we
every
could have
other
done
week,
more.
It's almost like £100 a month subscription.
If
Which
what?
is, like, if you go to 2 home games a month, you're committing to spending £100.
What if you're not a season
More
ticket
than
holder?
that.
mate?
But more
Which
than
is
that.
tough.
More than that. And that's before drinks and anything else.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ruined
But
your
I'm
flow,
really
Johnny.
looking forward to the next home game, which I think is against Wolves. I hope all these players come back. It's like the Grand National. You hope all the horses get round. You hope all the players get back from international duty without any injuries.
It's so cruel not to be able to watch Simmons for 2 weeks.
Well, you can watch Holland.
He might get injured.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
so
don't
nervous.
stop it.
I'm so nervous. I'm working on the qualifiers next
Stop
week,
it.
and it's like just wrap him up in cotton wool.
Stop
I don't know if Kolo Muani is in the France squad. He probably is because he's been in most of their squads, and he was during the Nations League in the summer. I don't know. That's the end of the transfer window. That's the end of Gary Diamond for a couple of weeks because he's getting a puppy.
I feel so relieved that the transfer window is closed.
Yeah.
I actually hate it when it's open. The amount of moaning and
When
whinging.
was the last time we ended a transfer window? You went, can't wait to see these players.
Oh, mate. Probably in Dombele Lo Celso. That went fantastically.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Van der Vaart.
That's like.
But that was like one player.
2011.
We've signed 4 players that can go straight into that first team, and
Yeah.
that's quite rare for
This is
Spurs.
a good window.
Yeah, I think it's a good window.
Manager's great.
I think it is a good win. I think anybody that's complaining, yeah, okay. What are we? We're a left back or a centre
The
back.
booing in the
Sure.
stadium in this is
Yeah.
exactly what's the problem with our fan base at the minute. Is we're so entitled sometimes, and but like, I think most of the booing was at the ref.
I don't know. I think they said it was. Last little bit of breaking
painful.
news is that Adam Flanagan said on here, Jake Sands in our WhatsApps, Villarreal might be signing Solomon to. So you haven't finished yet either.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
I think I'm
gentlemen.
cold for you.
James, thank you very much. Gary, thank you very much. Everyone in the stream, remember, become a member to win this lovely bit of merch. If you're not a member, you can't win it.
And now go and look up the Saliba Moani video.
Now go and look up this leave.
Go look up that video.
All right, we will see you. Oh, also a reminder that on Thursday I'm talking to Rafa Honigstein. He'll tell us more about Xavi Simons. Might talking to him about Kolo Muani as well and Palhinha because he'll know all about those players.
Sound's gone.
Sound's gone. All right, see ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, damn.